So last night, Lauren and I went out on like a spontaneous date night and we saw Mission Impossible, part one of episode 7 of the Mission Impossible series. And granted, Mission Impossible, you know what you're going to get when you sit down, you get your popcorn, you get your drink, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get over the top mission that seems impossible to do. Tom Cruise is going to do his own stunts and you're going to get like, a generic story that kind of pushes you along. That kind of gets flipped on its head a little bit in this movie because it is no longer just a generic story. But this movie, at least in our eyes, was way better than we expected because we saw the last one on 6 when during like the last Mission Impossible that came out during COVID times, and it wasn't bad by any stretch of the means, but it's exactly what we thought it was going to be. And this one was a little bit less predictable, and maybe we felt like the last one we kind of predicted the narrative points, but the individual or the thing that they're trying to take out is no longer a person or like a Perseus from Call of Duty where it's actually a group of people faking to be one person. It is no longer any of those kind of espionage spy films. It is now tackling AI, which is something we see in our day-to-day life with the emergence of ChatGPT. Google has their own thing. I think it's called Bart or Bark. I mean, there's AI that are coming up left and right, whether it be a text to prompt or a text to image. There's so many different ways AI is being utilized, and this movie takes the fun rabbit hole, scary. What if it becomes self-aware and it needs to destroy the human race, and only Tom Cruise can save us? And I have to say, like, the jokes in this movie were honestly they were well timed, and there was no real point in the movie where I felt like, okay, it's taking me out of the action and everything, because they were trying to input funny or anything like that. The funny scenes, like they gave a breath of air for the audience to like let go of squeezing their knuckles, because a lot of this movie you're sitting back because Tom Cruise and Agent Carter, and I cannot remember the life of me what Agent Carter's actor, like what her real name is, the actress who plays Agent Carter. She is just as fine, just as beautiful in this as she is in anything else she's done, and I have to say, she fits so well in this Mission Impossible world. Now, if you don't know, you gotta have Tom Cruise, Ethan, you got Luther, and you got Benji, and in the very end of this movie, there's something that happens with that trio that kind of forces them to split up. Which, if it didn't have part 1 in the name of this movie, there's plenty of plot points that happen. I don't want to give out any spoilers because it just came out today and it is so fun and I would want everyone to go see it. But the little trio, something happens to where one person leaves that trio, and when that happens, in that moment, I'm like, oh, this is setting up the next movie that's gonna be like the thing that brings it all together. And if you've seen the movie already, leave it in the comments, kind of like be encryptive of what you think of it. Now, before Lo and I actually sat down and saw the movie, before the trailers were rolling out, she and I were just sitting back chatting, the normal thing, just scrolling on Instagram, scrolling through Twitter, and I saw that there was kind of this fan cry for a 4-hour cut of this movie. Now, this movie was already almost 3 hours long, and it felt very well paced throughout the movie. I didn't feel like it was 3 hours. It did feel like you were sitting in the movie theater for a minute, but it didn't feel like, oh, can we speed this up? Everything was well balanced. Everything had a reason why it was in the movie. It was fantastic. But with that said, I can't imagine a 4-hour cut of this movie. Most oftentimes when it comes to something like, what the heck was that? Most oftentimes, when I'm thinking of an extended cut of a movie, I'm thinking of like the Justice League snack. I'm thinking of like the Justice League and how it had an extended cut. And honestly, the extended cut made the movie better. Was it still good? My opinion, but the extra content, the extra context in the movie made it better, or at least for me, I enjoyed it more. A 4-hour Mission Impossible movie like this, I don't, especially when it's already going to be broken up into 2 parts, I don't think is necessary, especially in this movie. But if we can just go ahead and just talk about the one thing, it's at the end of the movie, it's in the trailers, is this train scene. Fun fact, they only had one real chance to do this train scene because they had to like build this train and crash it like, in any other movie, but they had like one take to do this. And there's a couple times in that scene where you could tell like an actor like kind of fumbled or something, and you're like, whoa, hold on, was that the really one take that they had? Or at least that's what my head was. Like, you see somebody land on the train and like slip, you could see their hand sprawl out, and I'm like, that looked like a reaction of like a, oh shit, that wasn't planned out, you know what I mean? But that's just me sitting back and like thinking in my own head. But what I wanted to get to is that the scene is like, how can everybody just casually stand up on top of these trains and just walk around like they're not bungee cord or zip tied to this SOB? I mean, people are throwing haymakers, picking dudes up, slamming them, and they're staying on this thing like they're on a 2D platform, like it's a freaking Mortal Kombat game or they're playing Super Smash Bros. It's like they're always coming back to the center of gravity, which is the train. And because the time, like I said, someone gets their foot caught and like Hulk slams Logie, like that same thing happens on the train. In my head, dude bounces off and is rolling out. Nah, he just sits there and looks at him like, how dare you? You think this is it? That's not gonna take me out. No. And honestly, to all my kings who have their queens, take them out. It was a fun little spontaneous date night with Lo and I. Beforehand, she and I went to this little we were gonna go try this new taco spot out, but instead it was just the line was crazy. It was gonna be like a 45 to an hour wait, and that was like the amount of time that we had to eat before the movie starts. So we walked over to this little Asian restaurant because where we were at, it was like this big, really nice, called the Collections of Foresight, that has all these like little shops, whether it's bookstores or boutiques or restaurants or whatever you want to imagine in a movie theater. It kind of brings people together. It's nice. So we walked to the other side of the Collections and ate at this Asian restaurant called Tin Drums. And I have to say, this is a place where I've grown up. I've lived here in my little area for like well over a decade now, going on 2 decades, and I've never once sat down and eaten at this little spot. And I don't know if you guys could ever relate to that, where you're in your local neighborhood, your little small town, your big town, wherever you're at, wherever you live. But there's always that like one restaurant that you know of, but you've actually never gone in there. And you never know. You're gonna flip a coin. It's either gonna be really good or really bad.
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
And this time it was amazing. This whole spontaneous date night was amazing. It was a good Friday. I had like a sweet curry, like a sweet coconut curry that was so good. It was like rice with chicken with a little spinach with this curry on top. I'm getting hungry thinking about it. Lo had some Singapore noodles, had like a little spice to it, but at the same time had like some pineapple and some chicken. It was fantastic. And I really wanted to come home and go live on stream, but we didn't get home till like 10. Ideally, I gotta wake up here as I'm recording this video. It's 11:39 p.m. I gotta wake up at 5 a.m. to get my workout in and handle some stuff before the day gets started. So I said, you know what? Content comes first. I want to make sure that I keep a good rapport with my community. I say I'm going to be putting out the content, so I want you guys to know I'm a man of my word and I'm putting out the content. So if you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, you guys are going to go out to the movie theater this weekend. Please let me know what you're going to go see, whether it be Barbie, Oppenheimer, or Mission Impossible. Truthfully, if Oppenheimer wasn't sold out for like every time slot throughout the weekend, we probably would have gone and seen that. But I am so glad we saw Mission Impossible because it was surprisingly good. Oppenheimer, I already had expectations for. Mission Impossible, you know what you're going to get. And this one for us exceeded what we thought we were going to get. And the food that we had beforehand was just as fantastic. So besides this weather in Atlanta sucking right now because it's raining and lightning and it's raining sideways, man, the weather in Atlanta has been crap. But with that said, I hope wherever you're at, the weather is much nicer. I hope you guys have had a great Friday. If you guys are liking the energy that I'm putting out, you would join me over on kick.com/Elrod. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.